Globalists declare Bitcoin is dead. We have some anti-CBDC legislation coming up, and Coinbase is picking up where FTX left off. This is Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you hit that like button. We have some great guests on Around the Blockchain today. We're going to get right into it. Normally, he's on the bottom right corner. Today, he's on the top left. It is TJ Shed. How's it feel to switch sides here?
I switch sides every once in a while. They say I'm a little bit of a switch hitter. So, happy to be in the top left corner.
I knew you went into Ben's office for a reason today. All right, then we also have Randi Hipper. Randy, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. Happy to be back. It's always great hanging with you guys. Thank you for having me.
And then we have Sin City Crypto. He's going to be coming to Hotlanta pretty soon. Looking forward to seeing you. How long are you going to be out here in Atlanta?
I think a little over a week. Yeah, we're going to make a surprise visit over there. And so I guess it's not a surprise anymore, but.
All right, looking forward to it. Oh, man, did I just spill the beans? And then we have Altcoin Daily. Altcoin Daily, any beans you want to spill to take the heat off me just now?
I'm a believer in Bitcoin. Newsflash.
Whoa. Hey, is that why your color is orange? Today, we're going to be talking about BIS versus crypto first. And some of you at home may be wondering, what is the BIS? It is the Bank for International Settlements. I have the definition up right here. It is an international financial institution owned by central banks that foster international monetary and, more importantly, serves as a bank for the central banks. TJ, I can't think of a scarier term. The bank for the central banks. Is this more powerful than the Fed, in your opinion? Are these people telling the Fed what to do, or are they all just kind of the same people following the same path?
Well, I guess that's the great debate, right? It depends on who you ask there. I mean, if you believe there are a small group of people pulling all the strings, these people would fall right into that category of, the globalist, as they say, the people that are moving towards one world currency, one world government. It seems like an inevitability at some point. But who's really in control? That's the great debate. I feel like we never really know. You've got the IMF, you've got the Bank of International Settlements. We do know the people that control the money generally have a lot of power. I think there's some kind of saying there that, money is power until money threatens power. Then you really see who has the true power. So, and I think that's exactly the state that we're in right now. Money, whether it's digital currencies or the internet, the US dollar being the central reserve currency, money is starting to be threatening power here. And so all these people are coming out trying to posture and position and say that they truly have the power. It is scary. Bank of International Settlements, a lot of these, comes out of a lot of these G20, G7, G12 meetings of kind of the most powerful governments getting together and deciding what they feel is the most important action to be taken to maintain power. All of these guys sound like scary Bond villains to me. Altcoin Daily said at the beginning, I believe in Bitcoin, and that's why I'm here. Bitcoin, I feel like, is the best option we have to exit their money system, and whatever system they're proposing is generally not the one for me. So if they're taking a victory lap right now, sure, let them have it. Let them think they won, and we'll just keep pushing DeFi and decentralized finance further and further through things like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, and you're talking about they're claiming victory. We're talking about the head of the BIS. His name's Augustin. We might have a photo for him. You're going to want to get a look at this guy. But he was saying the victory is now done. They have won over the crypto wars. He was likening it to a fierce struggle and saying, hey, guys, we are already victorious, like the P. Diddy song. And he was saying their focus for 23, so this upcoming year, is going to be stablecoins and CBDCs. He's calling them the new building blocks for a modern financial system here. Now, Randy, he's saying central banks, we have already won. We have defeated crypto. What do you think he means by that? Is there something ominous under those words that we need to be worried about?
I think he just means that he came up with something that's going to scare other people away from crypto that don't really know about it yet. We can't forget that we're still extremely early. There's a knowledge barrier to entry when it comes into crypto. A lot of people have been hearing about crypto over the past year because of the FTX collapse, because of all the FUD that they've been putting out. Of course, this is just another way to scare people and say, hey, this is Bitcoin's bad, crypto's bad. This is what's good because we're here to help. I think that again is a false narrative. People are going to see through it with the time of education and people like Tom Emmer that are stepping in and saying, hey, this isn't a good thing. You have to have both parties to make people think. Either way, this shows adoption. It shows how much Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, DeFi in general, is a threat to the traditional financial system. We can't forget Bitcoin's only 14 years old and it has the entire world's banking system questioning its confidence in itself, its stability, its future. So I do think, again, it's a great thing to hear about it. But again, we're going to have to educate people on the difference between CBDCs, Bitcoin, free money, and what's not free money.
Yeah, the scariest 14-year-old since Ender's Game. That was such a nerdy reference. I regretted it immediately. All right, now Sin City Crypto, he has some scary, scary language. He says he has a vision for a mandatory system, unified ledger, which aims to lay the ground infrastructure for the modern financial system. What do you think about this? It sounds like he's trying to tell the governments what to do. So my question to you is, do governments tell the banking system what to do, or does the banking system tell the governments what to do?
Well, the banking system puts into government people that work in their favor. We see it in the banking committees and financial committees here in the States. That people that were former CEOs and people that worked for big hedge funds and corporations with vested interests are the people that are making the policies. So that is the norm. That's the direction we're going. And it seems as though what they're trying to do here is fortify the groundwork for the CBDC, and that is front and center. Now, also, what I think what he's saying when he's saying they declared victory is that they're trying to put a divide between the traditional financial systems and with cryptocurrency. In the latest congressional hearing that we had, where Kevin O'Leary was speaking and a handful of other panelists, the big topic in the room was the division of crypto and the financial system and how they wanted no integration. And it's gonna merge. At least that's the path that we're going on. The banking system and the politics might try to fight it, but what we have here is the old guard, the new guard. There's going to be a transition. There's going to be a marriage of the two. I don't think that fiat currency is ever going to disappear. I think there's always a place for it, but in the same regard, there's always going to be a place for cryptocurrency. There's always going to be an option to go with the private route. And if a company or institution wants to facilitate transfer of money, they're going to offer both services at some point in time during the future. The powers that be are just trying to put the brakes on that at the moment.
I think you summed it up well. The banking maybe chooses the politicians, and then so it's a net effect. It's depending on how you look at it. All we know is the snake is kind of eating its own tail there. Now, Altcoin Daily, he's saying this modern financial system isn't going to be that bad. What are your thoughts on the government, being able to access everyone's transactions? The proponents are saying this stops illicit activities. This helps protect people. This stops drug sales, hitmen, on random websites from being hired. Is that such a bad thing after all? Wouldn't it make society a little safer?
DZ, thanks for having me on. Love being on around the blockchain. I think governments should absolutely be able to look at every single citizen's personal transaction 100%. Just like they should be able to bend each citizen over and screw us in the ass.
Okay. You took me down a
Same
left turn.
thing,
I didn't know
DZ.
where it was going.
How are they different?
Ooh.
If the founding fathers would have heard they are sort of different. If the founding fathers would have even gotten a whisper of something like this when they were forming the Constitution, this is the exact same thing. They would have taken a complete 180 and turned around. This is the sort of thing that causes a new revolution, not today, not tomorrow, but years from now, when the system is no longer protecting its citizens, but instead protecting their own self-interests. And it is a sticky, slippery situation at the same time, because yes, they do it under the guise of we are protecting you. But something like that, seeing every single transaction from every single citizen, is like something you'd see in North Korea, is like something you'd see in China. We're different.
Yeah, and Yeah,
I
well,
thought.
you brought up a good point with the founding fathers, and I threw this up. It reminded me of the Tea Party, or the tax on the tea. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it was single digits. It was like 2.5%, something very small. So not even in the same ballpark as monitoring everyone's transactions. Let alone federal income taxes, property taxes, and the like. I'm sure they would have different reactions than a shrug, and I'm just going to keep scrolling TikTok. I don't think they would. I think they'd care maybe a little bit more than that. But there are some people fighting the good fight. That takes us to our next topic, CBDC controls. And Tom Emmer seems to be leading the charge. He has some anti-CBDC legislation he's trying to pass with this bill. And he wants the Federal Reserve Bank to not offer products or services directly to an individual or maintain an account on behalf of an individual or issue a CBDC directly to an individual. Now, TJ, you've been seeing a little bit of the behind the scenes with Ben, with the act that he's trying to get passed, talking to these politicians. What is Tom Emmer, his real litmus test? Because on paper, this guy seems fantastic. Is Tom really fighting the good fight, or is there a little bit of a showmanship going on here?
Well, first of all, I want to say I loved everything Altcoin Daily just said. That was amazing. Preach plus 9,000 for Altcoin Daily. But when it comes to Tom Emmer, I'm glad you asked me this. We were talking about this on Blockchain Basement today, actually. And a lot of mixed thoughts on it. Like my gut says he is fighting the good fight. I do think a lot of the things that he's pushing for are important. That being said, it does come back to sort of your first question of who's in power, the money or the people or the elected officials. I tend to think it does land on the side of the money. So I appreciate what he's doing. Tom Emmer, Hester Pierce, I think they are pushing a lot of good topics forward. They have a great understanding of the issues at hand. That being said, a little bit of a curveball here that I think he's going to deal with. I'm not sure if he probably is already aware of this. I do think he's has the right talking points and he's pushing the right conversation forward. However, we already know the politicians and the people, I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but they've already said they're going to be working with the private sector for the US CBDC. I don't think it's already going to be issued by the Fed. And that's one of the things he's trying to cut off at the pass is to say the Fed can't directly issue these things. And if they do, they're going to have these privacy things at hand. So I think he knows that it's coming. I think it's already going to be USDC. I think they're going to have Circle as the issuer of the United States stablecoin that's already called USD coin. That's already coming out of Goldman Sachs people, which tend to front run a lot of the financial policy here in the United States. So I appreciate the motion and the thought and the energy and everything that's going into this bill. I don't want to detract from it in any single way. I do think I hope he's one of the good guys. It's really hard to judge motives and incentives of anybody in Washington, in my opinion. But from everything I've seen so far, he looks like one of the good guys. He's acting like one of the good guys. He's saying a lot of the right things. Financial privacy, to Altcoin Daily's point, is one of the key factors we must protect here in the United States. We've already generally lost that battle when it comes to fiat currency. We have an opportunity to fix it right now if we keep this top of mind. And I'm really glad he's making that part of the conversation. So all I'll say for now, he seems like one of the good guys. But they were making the point earlier in the basement. It's always the guys that you want to trust. The Harvey Dents of the world. That always flip at the last minute. You live long enough to see yourself become the enemy, or however that phrase goes. So I'm hoping he's not one of those guys. I love everything he's done so far. But it's a tough battle, man. You're fighting legacy, generational institutions that have been here much longer than any elected politician, and it's hard to unseat people who don't have to fight for their seat every couple of years. I'll just say that.
All right, and speaking of Harvey Dent, if you're watching at home, flip a coin. If it's heads, we win. You got to hit that like button. If it's tails, you lose. You got to hit that like button. So please just hit that like button. What are you doing? Hit it already. Now, you kind of said he's bringing a good conversation forward. I have a quote. Now, Randy, I want to ask your thoughts on this. Here's his quote. Any digital version of the dollar must uphold our American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitiveness. Now, this seems like great language for someone that's trying to push an anti-CBDC bill forward. Do you think that this bill can get bipartisan support, though? Do you see this taking off and actually getting to the point where the president might sign it?
I think in general, crypto is a bipartisan issue. I think nothing is more American than Bitcoin, something that's free, something that's private, something that allows you to transact when you want, wherever you want, to whoever you want, no matter what time of the day it is, and you truly get to own that asset. Nothing is more American than Bitcoin. On the other hand, CBDCs are quite the opposite. It's like Tom Emmer was even saying in that thread that you were reading, it's pretty much used as surveillance, and it shouldn't be. It does, again, strip away kind of our freedoms that, we can't transact when we want. It could be blocked. It's all things we have to consider. And I do think that this is already something that is building up across other states as well. If you guys have been looking at Texas, they were putting legislation forward focused on crypto education, crypto mining, Bitcoin. They want to invest in Bitcoin in Texas. Additionally, they wanted to say they said they don't want CBDCs in Texas, but they were also thinking about a Texas stable coin, which also makes you think, there might be other room for stable coins that is also being cracked down on by the SEC. So I think a lot of things are going to be pushed on the state level. And eventually it's just going to accumulate to the point where the federal level, they can't ignore it. They're going to have to embrace crypto and say, all right, here's what's going to happen. But the thing is, they don't know what they want to do. They can't figure it out because they can't get their cut. And it comes down to US dollar dominance. They want to make sure the dollar stays at the top. But if you keep pushing innovation out, you keep pushing people down like Tom Emmer, then people might have to leave and go find elsewhere where they could innovate.
All right. Well, you're bringing up the states versus the Fed. I think that's a good topic there. Now, Sin City Crypto, it seems like this state politician, or this senator, he is trying to get this legislation passed that will actually take power away from the Federal Reserve. Do any bills stand a chance if it's taken power from the Federal Reserve, or do you think that is only going in maybe one direction as we move forward?
Well, what the bill that's proposed here is to not issue CBDCs directly to the citizens, and so it doesn't really stop their core function. Well, the Federal Reserve right now doesn't print any dollars. They do essentially inject money into the system through the M1 and M2 money supply through the central banks, and also buying up U.S. treasuries and corporate debt, but essentially printing is done by the Treasury Department, and so now the Treasury Department prints out paper money, and so would it be too far, if you're going to move the responsibility of minting and regulating a CBDC, it kind of makes sense for it to go to the Treasury Department. But that doesn't circumvent any of the problems that you would have with Federal Reserve doing it, because the powers that be that oversee the Federal Reserve are pretty much the same powers that oversee the Treasury Department. They all respond to the same presidential cabinet and the same Congress. So if the narrative is to read the data off of CBDCs for tracking, and to say where and when you can spend your money, it doesn't matter who's issuing it, whether it's the Fed or the Treasury Department. I will say that the CBDCs are coming, and I know it's got a scary connotation to it, but at its most simple level, a CBDC, what it's trying to accomplish is trying to just have an instant settlement or near instant settlement when it comes to processing transactions. Because right now, we have about a 2 to 5 day processing. You swipe your credit card or check card at a gas station or whatever, you go to send money. We know it doesn't settle for a few days, a little out of date. So, I look at CBDCs as a positive as far as the initial settlement. And now you can also track and move not only the value, but also you can tag on data and tracking with it. So that's where we have the big concern. So if we can get CBDCs, because they're coming whether you want them or not, so let's at least just get them in here the right way. Let's get the CBDs here where we only are tracking the value movement and not the data and who owns it and where it came from and where you can spend it. I think that's where we get the big problems there.
No, that's a good point bringing up, they don't issue directly to citizens now, they issue to the bank. So could just be, maybe more flash than anything, as far as taking away their power here. Well, Altcoin Daily, do you think that Emmer is correct in bringing this to light now, or should he wait for maybe a Tucker Carlson segment or for more people to know what a CBDC is, more people to be educated on the control functions of that monetary policy? Is now the right time, or should he have waited?
DZ, I want to be very clear. Regulation, in some sense, is inevitable. And despite my prior rant, I do I want regulation in the US, at least the clarity, because the fact that we don't have clarity here is setting us so far behind compared to the rest of the world. And at least with some form of clarity, we can know where we stand, the crypto industry. And by the way, I want, just because it is inevitable, I want centralized products to be regulated. Everybody didn't want regulation until Celsius collapsed. Then everybody was getting on the government, the SEC. Why don't you regulate this? So if you're centralized, you're going to be regulated. Now, for me, I want the freedom for both options. That's why we have the decentralized protocols, Bitcoin being the most decentralized, the most censorship resistant. And then for financial products, the Aves, the compounds, that's our little revolution that humankind truly hasn't had before in any big sense, a decentralized way to have financial products. Now, Tom Emmer bringing this up, might as well bring it up earlier rather than later. It's kind of too late if these regulations or products are already instilled, and he brings it up. So I like that he's doing it. And my biggest fear is kind of what Sin City and you just said, that I think Tom Emmer's bill will probably, the Fed's not elected, but the Fed doesn't deal with the citizens anyway. I think there might just be some two-tiered system, two-coin system where they distribute to the big banks and then the banks distribute to us.
I know in the Declaration of Independence, it said something about unelected bureaucrats running the country, right? Because that's where we're heading. I'll have to reread it. I think it's in there somewhere. All right, well, let's talk about Coinbase and IEX. Just like BIS, you might not be familiar with the IES. It stands for Investors Exchange. When you think of stock exchanges, there's the New York Stock Exchange. There's NASDAQ. You could trade on the CME. There isn't just one stock exchange. There's different entities. They're typically privately held. I looked at their market cap. They have a 2.5% share of the entire stock exchange, so about 125th there. So kind of small, but still a lot of money being traded on a daily basis. Sorry, Monday through Friday basis there. And according to reports from Fox Business, Coinbase is reportedly in talks with the IEX to build out a federally approved digital assets marketplace. And this is their second run after they initially began this process with FTX. That is right. And a spokesperson for IEX said the exchange had not yet finalized any specific proposal that includes any third parties. It is aiming to create a regulatory pathway for a digital asset marketplace. Now, TJ, a lot of people are going to jump to conclusions here and say, oh, SBF is out. Now they're bringing in Brian Armstrong. Is there a there, or is this just, look, a top exchange that was, cozy with regulators, and now they're just switching to another top exchange? Maybe there isn't any kind of Machiavellian moves in the background. Do you think the IEX, is there something suspicious going on here? Or is this just maybe par for the course?
Well, why not? Why is it's suspicious and par for the course, I would say. And every time Altcoin Daily starts talking, I just want to stand up and clap. Like, you just get me so fired up when you're saying all that stuff. So kudos again. I loved that answer. But I think we were talking about timing. We were talking, like, you were asking, is this the right time? Like a lot of the points people made, Sin City Crypto said the Fed doesn't issue directly. There's going to be a second intermediary. You just alluded to it. And so this timing of all of this stuff happening all at the same time is not lost on me at all. I do not think it's a coincidence whatsoever. We know what FTX was trying to do from a regulatory standpoint to create a kind of winner takes all scenario for them in the marketplace, working with regulators to be the chosen one, so to speak, to do a lot of these things. We know right now Circle is the issuer of USDC, which happens directly through Coinbase. They're completely linked together. So if we need a second tier step to be the issuer of the stablecoin, and it's not going to be banks right now, why not Coinbase? Why not make Coinbase the federally regulated, gatekeeper approved exchange that's going to be issuing US dollar coin or USDC to all the citizens of the world, maybe to other banks of the world. They're also the chosen custodian that's going to be heavily regulated and heavily operated through government entities and through votes and all this sort of stuff, responding to the Fed and basically being the new bank, so to speak, no pun intended, with new bank in Brazil that Berkshire Hathaway is very invested in. So all of this stuff is not a coincidence. They are all positioning to be the winner in this scenario. And when you make the rules, you get to make them in your favor. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now. So this is very concerning for me when I see, we've questioned Brian Armstrong. Is he a good guy or a bad guy when it comes to a lot of this stuff? Like, yes, Coinbase has been there from the beginning. They've been a huge part of moving Bitcoin adoption forward, but they've also been at the middle of a lot of the stuff when it came to Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash, some insider trading, a lot of questionable activities, and they haven't really been pushing for DeFi. And obviously, they see DeFi as a threat to their business model. So it's a direct competition with what they're trying to build. And if you look at, again, Circle being the issuer of USDC through Coinbase, they're pushing everybody to get rid of their USDT through Coinbase. Now Coinbase stepping up to be, and potentially Brian Armstrong could have been part of the people that helped, bring to light what was going on at FTX. And I will say this, I do not think Coinbase is operating anywhere as fraudulently as FTX was. I think they do probably have the coins. They probably are backed at a 1-to-1 reserve. They are heavily regulated. They're publicly traded. So they've already checked a lot of the boxes that the government likes to see. But the fact that they're approving, creating terms like federally regulated, approved, it's going to be just like the Bit license, where they're going to keep other players out. They're not going to flatten the model. They're going to have a centralized model. I think Circle will be the issuer of the USD coin continually going forward under the direction of, the Fed, more or less, or, elected officials in the US government. And they're going to use Coinbase to get a lot of this done. They're going to use them for a lot of the custodianship. And there really won't be any competition for any other centralized exchanges in the United States. Binance US, we know there's going to get, basically they're going to have to jump through every hurdle that they can come up with to stay viable. Kraken, they've already demonstrated a distaste for Kraken as they move forward in the United States, even though Jesse Powell has also done everything right, has also been very forthcoming with information. Now he protects his users, privacy, which again I applaud him for, and I wish he could be part of this conversation much more than what we're seeing from Brian Armstrong and Coinbase. Gemini, I think, might have an opportunity to stay in a number 2 position just because they've got a power hold in New York. And so, again, some old institutional backers there. But again, they don't like GUSD any more than they like, which is the Gemini stablecoin, the Gemini dollar. They're going to regulate that, I think, into nothingness, or at least into irrelevance. So we've seen, go look at the charts, go look at the climb that USDC has had in the past year or so since the regulators woke up to this stuff. It used to be far and away USDT across all markets. And now you look at the market cap, USDC's almost caught it, and it's pretty much been all in the last 12 months. So I think Coinbase is that second step intermediary to get this plan through. So yeah, this is very concerning to me.
All right. Well, Altcoin Daily is saying, maybe bad news for some exchanges. I want to bring up exchanges that have sponsored your channel. No, I'm kidding. What do you think about exchanges, though? Are they in trouble? Gemini, Kraken, Binance US. I mean, is this kind of an arrow in their back in the middle of the night? Because is Coinbase going to be the winner now?
All fair game. Any question with UDZ is fair game. We've only ever accepted US regulated exchanges for our channel. Now, having said that, I think this is a course correction on the regulator's part. They posed FTX as the golden boy, when in reality, I think it should have been a Coinbase the whole time, because there's nobody that's been more compliant than Coinbase. First case in point, and really one of the only ones I need, they don't have a token, while FTX, while Binance, while Crypto.com all printed their own money. You don't think Coinbase would have loved to crowdfund the globe, get people to buy into their token that they printed, and then have way more money to expand? They wish. And there's, by the way, this is just a rumor, what I'm about to say, that Binance, the reason that Binance doesn't want to reveal all their books, the complete assets and liabilities in total, isn't because they don't really have the money. Some people speculate it's because they have so much money, they don't really want people to know exactly what they're holding. And you don't think that a exchange like a Coinbase would have wanted to do something like that, but they couldn't have, because they're in the US, they're trying to play by the rules. They beg Gary Gensler on Twitter, Brian Armstrong does every couple months, saying, please give us the rules. We want to participate as best we can. So I think this is a course correction for the better, and nobody's more regulated than Coinbase.
I've actually heard the same thing with the BNB token. Those who don't know about their tokenomics, they burn a lot of BNB, and I've heard it's, my God, we have too much money, and they're burning massive amounts of it.
And by the way, it could go to zero. They could have no money, or they could have really a lot of money. We don't know. And
we don't know. No one knows. No one knows. I have seen some cold wallets associated with them, and it seems like they're not worried about running out of money anytime soon. Now, Randy, I think there's some interesting things we're bringing up with the powers that be, the big money that maybe controls a lot of things in the background. So you look at FTX, he was meeting with Gary Gensler. I'm talking about SBF. SBF, Gary Gensler, very cozy. Some said this was, the powers that be chose FTX. Are you thinking that, one, are there powers that be? And if there is, are they choosing Coinbase?
I think throughout the past few years, we've seen that maybe there is a power that be that obviously has chosen favorites. FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, clearly was a favorite. Even now, there is billions of dollars still missing from FTX and that whole collapse. Billions and millions of dollars being thrown to lawyers, investigators, all these people, but somehow everyone else is left in the dust that had their livelihoods in FTX. And SBF again is sitting home playing League of Legends, enjoying his life, eating avocado toast. And there's other people that are catching so much heat for no reason. And of course they're going to try to, create their own exchange because they want something that again, they could keep more people under a microscope, have more people involved into the ecosystem. That way they could see again what's going on. I do think, again, there's overall pushback for crypto because they don't know what to do with it yet. There's so much going on here. And even with Coinbase and Brian Armstrong, he said he would go to court with the SEC over staking. But at the same time, somehow USDC, and that's associated with Coinbase, and they're associated with this new IEX thing. Maybe this wasn't a problem the whole time for Coinbase. Maybe none of it was a problem with staking for Coinbase. And they were just talking smack to seem like, maybe they're a part of the community, that they're on our side. But again, you have to do your own research. If we've learned anything from FTX and all of these past exchanges, it's that you can't treat it like a bank. They're not banks. You have to you take part in the fundamentals of this revolution that we're a part of, which is using the exchanges what they're for, which is exchanging your fiat for cryptocurrency and withdrawing it to your own wallet where it's safe. So that way you're not involved in any of this drama and you don't lose your livelihoods like a lot of other people did with FTX. But overall, the powers that be, they chose a favorite. USDC is their favorite. When you look at this Binance Paxos thing, Paxos, they got a Wells notice for Binance US dollar, but not for USDP, which is Paxos's own stablecoin. So obviously this again is almost a direct target at Binance USD, being that it was a top 3 stablecoin when it was in action before a lot of the liquidity and popularity got sucked out of it from this Pax thing with Paxos. It's really unfortunate. I really do think that a lot of this is FUD. We're going to move past it, and this is just going to be a blip in the radar in the next few years where it was just a little bit of pushback before the next big run where the banks just say, hey, we can't fight this anymore. Here you guys go. We're all going to jump in now.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with Brian Armstrong. He was the guy forward facing, maybe like a slightly more tame Jesse Powell from Kraken. I will fight the SEC. We'll take them to court. We're going to fight the good fight for crypto. Again, do your own research. I'm not a mind reader, but I think if they do partner with IEX, the statistical probability of a settlement probably greatly increases. They probably don't want to fight. Again, who knows? I don't know. I'm just a guy
Listen,
who likes
we've
monkey
been seeing a
JPEGs.
bunch of cases, like the case with Coinbase, that the big lawsuit. They just dropped it. Like all
Yeah.
of this just seems to be a distraction for us to just pay attention to something else. Whenever something bad happens in crypto or like they're trying to FUD crypto, it's a lot of this stuff is with Coinbase. And even recently, they reached a settlement with the SEC. That's good for crypto. Then crypto's bad. They even had Brian Armstrong on today on TV. They're trying to FUD all of it. Please, guys, stop watching all this crazy news. Again, use the exchanges what they're for, which is buying your cryptocurrency, be your own bank, and you're better off doing that than paying attention to a lot of their stuff they're trying to throw in your face.
I'm going to go hatless rest of the show. Solidarity with Brian Armstrong. All right, final question. Sin City Crypto. This is financial advice. We're kidding, of course, not financial advice. I'm looking at Coinbase's price, and I'm feeling this is bullish more than bearish for Coinbase as a whole. And I pulled up their price chart for their stock on, they launched right near the Bitcoin all-time high the first part of the year. Then you see when it hit the all-time high the second part of the year. Very healthy stock price, very close to where they launched at, around $350. Their low was $30, or right around 30. So typical with crypto, a 90% pullback. Is Coinbase bullish to you at $60? What are your thoughts as a stock, since they probably are never going to issue a token?
Well, if you have no interest in getting exposure to crypto through the crypto assets, and you're just stuck in the ways of buying stocks, and you want to get exposure to the cryptocurrency and digital assets without going said route, sure, go ahead and buy Coinbase. I think obviously Bitcoin is if it's going to follow the price of Bitcoin, Bitcoin ain't going to go anywhere. You can't say the same thing for Coinbase 20 years from now. You know what I mean? Like we there's no telling what's going to happen. I feel safe and secure using Coinbase compared to some other exchanges, but I would rather use Bitcoin than say Coinbase. And so for that reason, it's a no-brainer for me to stick into crypto versus getting into Coinbase. But if you're one of those legacy investors and you don't want to mess with wallets and buying crypto, sure, why not? With this whole Japan, or with this whole exchange issue, or Coinbase trying to get a federally approved exchange, it's very likened to the exchange situation in Japan, where it's a lot more stringent, and the Japanese government will pretty much only allow you to trade a handful of tokens, and it's a very daunting process to list anything new. And they do deem their crypto, they do deem crypto as crypto assets there, so they put them in their own box. They're not saying like, hey, they're securities, they're not currencies, they're not NFTs. They're just saying like, hey, we're going to regulate these are crypto assets, and to be labeled as a crypto asset, you need to apply. And then, if we feel that it's not too centralized of a product in a short term, that's how they get to listing tokens. So is that something we're going to see here? Are we going to see a federally approved Coinbase where the government is telling an exchange, hey, you can only offer these services? Might look like something where it's only Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a handful of other projects. So for me, I don't necessarily want to see the traditional exchanges integrating into what we have now, because it's going to be regulated in the same way, and the SEC is going to tell you what you can and can't sell. So I kind of like the separation we have now. It would be nice to get some kind of framework and groundwork built specifically for crypto exchanges. Let's identify what makes a crypto asset, and maybe in the same way that Japan does, a crypto asset, and then versus a security. And then once it gets all the check marks, let's go that way. I don't know. The federal government controlling exchanges and partnering with them, it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, that's a good point. If they go too far down the Japanese route, could end up pushing people to Binance, but maybe similar to Coinbase Pro, maybe they'll have a suite of options for different people. IEX is mostly derivatives, I believe. Now, TJ, it looks like you ended up taking it home. I don't know if it was that top left spot. Best comment went to...
I think it's rigged.
DZ took the hat off, break out the sunglasses. Okay, that was a good one. That was a good one. Plus one for you. But TJ, you end up winning out as far as our guests go. Feel free, take it away. Leave us with some parting thoughts.
I think only thing I would say is shout out to everybody, all the guests on this channel. They do an amazing job. They really know their stuff. I'm always impressed with all the comments I hear. So go subscribe. Make sure if you see Blockchain Basement on YouTube, it's one of the newer channels we have. I've been hosting that most days, Monday through Friday. We have a lot of fun. We talk about some off the wall stuff, mostly crypto, but sometimes we can get a little off base and just talk about crazy stuff. So go hang out in the basement with us there. But also go sub to if you're not subbed to Around the Blockchain, do that now. Check out Altcoin Daily, Miss Teen Crypto, Sin City Crypto. Like I said, they all do great content day in, day out. And you need to remember who's here when the prices are down, so you know who's here when the prices are up. It's now's the time to be getting involved, whether you're buying stock on coin, which, man, I kind of feel the same way as Sin City Crypto. Like, if you like stocks, great. Oh, I'm out of music. That means I'm out of time, I guess. But yeah. Anyway, we love all you guys. See you next time. Have a good time. But go subscribe to all the channels.
Stay ahead with TJ Shed in the Blockchain Basement. That's all we got. Make sure you sub to everyone's channel. Hit that like button on your way out. Easy out.